the technocratic system, basically cybernetics is about feedback loops, right? So this goes back to cybernetics is like the cult religion for the managerial class. And the image that, as Matthew Arrett, my friend, who you've also interviewed, he just gave the example from Norbert Wiener, which is just imagine the old like Viking ship with all the rowers and heave, ho. Everybody doing the rowing, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Everybody's just there. It's our modern compartmentalized bureaucracy, right? Everybody's just doing a little task. And if you don't know, you ask from on high up and you get directives, right? Only the helmsman, right? The cybernetician, technician, has knowledge of navigation of the stars. And so people are just getting little discrete packets of information, none of which individually would ever be enough to understand how to navigate the constellations. And so that way you can steer society cybernetically through these feedback loops and just giving everybody these discrete packets of information. And people are just these nodes or these cogs in the machine. But it's still guided by a spiritual vision of sort, a wicked one, but it's guided by a vision of what man should be, right? And how do we make man into this this thing that is not, we'll say it's not Christian, right? It's not classical Western civilization. It's certainly not Platonic either, right? Which is also the foundational to Western civilization. So why paganism? They're referring to pre-classical Greek man. So before there was a unitary soul, a notion of a unitary soul, you had the gods, right? And depending on what kind of person you are and your different organs, you have different temperaments and you're possessed by different things, right? And Huxley, he has a long lecture series called What a Piece of Work Man Is, which is from Hamlet. And it's 9 parts, and it's Huxley going into like all the work that he's been doing. And the idea is that the pre-classical Greek notion of man, of pagan man, is, there are many things, and we can be possessed by different things at times. Sometimes you're possessed by Eros, sometimes you're possessed by the Muses, sometimes you're possessed by rage, right? So one of the gods, and you don't have full control over that. And there's a famous scene in the Iliad that Huxley references where Achilles loses his mind, as he was wont to do, has a fit. And he said, because he got mad over, they took the girl and it was his concubine and all that. And he said, I'm sorry, I didn't know what got into me. I was possessed. But rather than his friend being like, yeah, you were a total asshole, he said, such are the gods, the way the gods work, I understand, in the sense that, hey, the gods are just like that. So free will is the other thing that wasn't really there. And that's the other thing they want to abolish, free will, right? Through conditioning, reflex conditioning, and repatterning, you have to get rid of free will, which is central to, Christian civilization, Western civilization. You have to get rid of the unitary conception of the soul, so that there's just many warring influences. And then you can start to repattern people, right? Because their image of themselves is very different. Like the implications are far-reaching if we don't have a soul, and we're now thinking of allowing different divine gods and influences to come into us. And so shamanism is a big one, and we'll hear this, right? I mean, people are going hog wild with this psychedelics and shamanism. So the shaman is the guy who is the leader, right? And he has the divine in him. The idea of the shamanism is that the divine comes from within instead of the gods coming into him. The gods it's kind of already there, and under rituals and stuff, he'll release it, and it will, he will heal you. He's the medicine man, right? He's going to get rid of all your neurosis. He's going to get rid of your depression. He's got the medicines, the drugs, and the dance and the rituals or the bongos to allow you to have a cathartic experience and to purge your bad emotions. So now that idea can go in all sorts of different ways, right? Like, yes, catharsis can be good if you've had trauma, right? Grieving. That's the second beatitude, though, in the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are those who grieve, for they'll be consoled. So the idea of weeping and crying or whatnot when something bad happens to you, that's fine. But if you start to use people's pain and you say, here, so we're going to do this transformative, shamanistic, psychedelic process to cure your depression. The thing is, psychedelics is about it's about divorcing oneself from past memories. You have an emotional distance that's created with the past, and so the idea is you can move on. But the question is, if you can, then you can change how people are hardwired emotionally to their sense of self, and you can divorce them from that, then you can give them a new self through suggestion, right? And so this is where hypnosis is really, it's been a natural thing, as Huxley and these psychologists will observe. Like all these rituals, the dance, like all this stuff has a hypnotic element to it, a trance element, and that's how you can get into the deeper psyche. So that's how you create cults, right? So here, we're going to fix you, you're depressed, we'll give you drugs, whatever kind, and you'll be new, and you'll have a new spirituality, you'll have a new identity. That's what MK Ultra was looking at. And that's what the Manson family stuff is also about, right? This was all carefully studied, how you create families, groups, new groups, and the rituals and the practices that they can do to create these new connections.